Hey y'all, how you doing today? I love, well, I should say, apple cider in most of the country, to me, tastes like what I remember apple juice tasting like. Now what that means is I lived in Michigan near where there were a lot of apples. So the apple juice there was a lot thicker. I mean, when you look at apple juice now, the first ingredient in this one is filtered water. And then you have high fructose corn syrup. And so, I mean, you don't even get, your first two ingredients aren't even apples. Heck, let's see. Apples is 1, 2, 3. 3 down is apple juice concentrate. And then you get all these other different little things to give it its color. But you know what? Where I grew up in Michigan, how the apple cider tastes is how I remember apple juice tasting. And then you'd get apple cider, and that stuff was thick. That stuff, I mean, you could see the little kind of things floating around it that gave it its thick flavor. I mean, you have to go to apple country to be able to understand that. But anyway, where we are actually today is we are in Gaineswood, Alabama, and we are reading Ghost Stories of America for you guys during this, my favorite time of year, the Halloween season. Stay tuned for some of our live broadcasts that we have going on, and let's go ahead and jump into Alabama Gaineswood. While you guys try and grab this book or a book like it, read along with me. This one has the best, by the way. And let's get some of these taken care of. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And give me just a second as this big truck drives by. And now, let's go ahead and jump into Alabama Gaineswood. One of the finest examples of antebellum Southern architecture can be found in Demopolis. Gaineswood is a beautiful Greek Revival mansion that has been carefully preserved by the Alabama Historic Commission. The past has been faithfully recreated in Gaineswood, right down to the presence of a woman who died in the home many, many years ago. Visitors will find the home still decorated with its original furnishings, and should they linger before the grand rose piano donated in 1976, they might be treated to a concert of sorts, a concert the likes of which most have never seen, for there is no performer, at least not one visible. Demopolis was founded in 1817 by a group of political exiles from France who had fled the country when Napoleon abdicated in 1814. The settlers were helped in its initial development by General George Storther Gaines, a Choctaw Indian agent. Gaines became Demopolis's first documented property owner. On his 480 acres, Gaines built a cabin. But by 1831, Gaines felt that a change was needed, and he moved to Mobile. For 12 years, Gaines held onto his property. In 1843, General Nathan Bryan Whitfield, a grower of king cotton in North Carolina, purchased the land. Over the next 18 years, in what can only be described as a labor of love, Gaines' once humble cabin was expanded. Working from his own designs, Whitfield assembled a small army of laborers, artisans, skilled slaves, and craftsmen to create a mansion complete with a grand coronation ballroom and an iconic parlor. When everything was completed in 1861, Whitfield took pride in his achievement. Its construction was not free of disappointment, however. In 1846, Whitfield's wife, Betsy, the mother of his 12 children, fell ill and passed away. Charged with the care of his burgeoning brood, Whitfield set about finding a governess for his children. Of all the applicants who presented themselves to Whitfield, Evelyn Carter was the most impressive. She was hired, and while she could not be expected to fully replace Betsy, the children took to Carter. Like an antebellum Mary Poppins, Carter brought a semblance of joy back into the Whitfield home, entertaining the family nightly with recitals in the home. Some nights she played the piano. On others, it was the flute or the violin. But the most magical nights were when Carter sang and the home was filled with the soaring melodies of her beautiful voice. These were happy times in Gaineswood, but they would come to a quick and unexpected end. Carter fell ill, and with her dying breaths she begged Whitfield to take her body back to her home in Virginia, to be buried alongside her family. Whitfield promised to fulfill this task to the best of his abilities, but he could not keep his promise. Winter had already fallen and had rendered the dirt roads muddy and impossible to travel. The railroad didn't reach Demopolis for at least another year in 1862. Travel on the rivers were treacherous. Whitfield had no choice but to seal his former governess's body in a pine casket and store it underneath the cellar steps until the spring. Carter was missed. The house sat silent as a gloom settled over the rooms like a blanket of dust. So one can imagine the Whitfield's surprise when, one night, Carter sang again. From beneath the cellar steps came Carter's unmistakably beautiful voice, singing the songs that had served so recently to brighten the heart and fortify the spirit. Unable to return home, Carter had chosen to do what she could do for the family from beyond the grave. Her footsteps could be heard padding around the piano, at which point the piano would play itself. Carter may have been dead in body, but her spirit was quite determinedly alive. With spring's arrival, Carter's body was moved to her family's burial ground in Virginia, but the paranormal events continued to occur. Even though she lay in rest in the east, Carter's ghost remained active in Gaineswood, moving about the home as if death had never come. She continued to serenade the family, and the children could hear the sounds of her silk skirts brushing against the wall and her soft footsteps. Even after the Whitfields came and went, the home continued to be the site of eerie recitals. In the 1970s, restoration workers were working late in the evening when they heard the piano playing. When they went to check on the instrument, they found nobody sitting at its keys. And on those quiet nights when the wind is still, the moon is full, and the smell of absolute calm is in the air, people still claim they can hear Evelyn Carter's voice rising from beneath Gaineswood's cellar steps. Thank you for listening to Alabama Gaineswood. That is kind of a fun story, kind of a little spooky, but it kind of, I don't know, kind of soothing as well. Anyway, I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in this Halloween. You all have a wonderful, wonderfully blessed Halloween day.